Ethan Caldwell was the kind of man headlines were made for: handsome, ruthless, and one of the youngest billionaires in Silicon Valley. At just 37, he owned half of the smart home tech industry. His estate sat nestled on a private hill overlooking San Francisco, with glass walls that reflected the sun and secrets in equal measure. But inside the mansion, silence echoed louder than any luxury. Ethan had made a rule: no one touched his things without permission. That included his rare wines, his imported Japanese matcha, and above all, his food. The kitchen, though massive, was monitored by cameras and stocked meticulously. Every label faced forward, every item accounted for. He didn't like surprises. And he certainly didn't like to share. So, when Maria Alvarez, a 54-year-old maid from El Salvador, was caught on the kitchen camera opening his fridge late one night, he saw red. The next morning, he didn't wait. "Maria," he said coldly, without looking up from his phone, "you're done here. I saw the footage. You were in my fridge." Maria stood in her modest uniform, her hands trembling slightly. "Sir. I was just—" "I don't want excuses," Ethan snapped. "I pay you generously. I trusted you. Pack your things. Security will see you out." Maria nodded slowly, her eyes brimming with tears she dared not let fall in front of him. "Yes, Mr. Caldwell." And just like that, the woman who had quietly served him for nearly 2 years, washing his clothes, ironing his shirts, dusting rooms he never entered, was gone. Ethan felt a strange emptiness that night. The house was quiet, of course, but this silence felt different. He poured himself a glass of wine and glanced around his gleaming kitchen. Immaculate. Just the way he liked it. But he couldn't shake it. Why had she opened the fridge? The thought lingered like a splinter in his mind. She didn't seem like the type to steal. In fact, she was always early, always polite. She greeted him every morning with "Buenos dias, Señor Caldwell," in her soft, sing-song Spanish, even when he barely grunted in response. That night, sleep eluded him. At 2:43 a.m., he opened his security app and replayed the footage from the night before. There she was. Maria. She entered the kitchen quietly, looking over her shoulder as if not to wake anyone. She tiptoed to the fridge and opened it, not quickly, but gently, almost reverently. She didn't take anything at first. She just stared. Then she reached inside and pulled out a small container of strawberries. Ethan remembered them, they were imported from France. She opened the container, took exactly 3 strawberries, then closed it. She wrapped them in a napkin, placed them in her purse, and whispered something toward the ceiling. He turned up the volume. "Gracias a Dios," she had said. "Esto es para mi niño." This is for my boy. Ethan sat up. The next morning, he asked the head of housekeeping for Maria's file. No address. Just a P.O. box. No emergency contact. No details about family. He dug further. Called his private investigator. "Find out everything you can about Maria Alvarez." Quietly. 2 days later, the report came back. Ethan sat in his home office, staring at the file with growing shame. Maria lived in a rundown neighborhood in Oakland. She took 2 buses and walked nearly 40 minutes to get to his estate every morning. She had 1 child, a 7-year-old boy named Diego. The boy had been diagnosed with leukemia last year. Maria had been working 2 jobs to pay for his treatments. Her second job, at a nursing home, ended at 10 p.m. That meant she didn't get home until nearly midnight. The night she stole the strawberries. It had been Diego's birthday. And he had asked for strawberries, his favorite fruit. Because they reminded him of the ones his father used to bring before he died in a construction accident 3 years ago. Ethan stared at the final page of the report. A photo of Maria holding Diego in a hospital bed. Both of them smiling. Both of them clinging to something more precious than gold, hope. His hands trembled. That afternoon, Ethan drove himself, something he hadn't done in years, to the address listed in the report. The apartment building was crumbling, paint peeling off like old bark. He climbed the narrow stairs and knocked on apartment 3B. The door opened slowly. Maria stood there, her eyes wide with disbelief. "Mr. Caldwell?" Ethan's voice was softer than she'd ever heard it. "Maria, may I come in?" She hesitated, then stepped aside. Inside, the apartment was small but clean. A crucifix hung above the doorway. The scent of rice and beans lingered in the air. Diego was curled on a thin mattress, drawing superheroes with crayon. When he saw Ethan, his eyes lit up. "Is that Iron Man?" Maria shook her head quickly. "Diego, mi amor, this is Mr. Caldwell. I used to work for him." Ethan knelt beside the boy. "Hi, Diego. I heard it was your birthday the other night." The boy grinned. "Yeah. Mama brought me strawberries. They were so sweet." Ethan swallowed hard. "I'm glad," he whispered. He turned to Maria. I was wrong. About everything. I didn't know. I didn't ask. I just assumed the worst." Tears welled in her eyes. "You had no reason to ask. It wasn't your burden." "But maybe it should have been," he said quietly. That night, he returned home and did something he hadn't done in decades. He cooked. Not just for himself. For someone else. He made arroz con pollo, watched YouTube videos on how to season it right, even bought fresh strawberries from the farmer's market the next morning. And then he drove back to apartment 3B. "Lunch delivery," he said, smiling. Maria covered her mouth in disbelief. "Señor. For you and Diego," he said. "Anne. I'd like to help." "Help how?" she asked cautiously. "I spoke to my lawyers. I've set up a trust for Diego's medical care. Full coverage. And there's a job opening on my estate, head of housekeeping. Better hours, double the pay, and a private car to bring you back and forth." Maria burst into tears. "Señor Caldwell. I don't know what to say." "Say you'll let me make this right," he said gently. Maria nodded through tears. "See. Yes. Thank you." Over the next few months, everything changed. Ethan began spending time with Diego, bringing him comics, teaching him chess, even building a custom robot together. For the first time in years, laughter echoed in his mansion. But something else was changing too, Ethan. He stopped checking the cameras obsessively. He started donating, not just money, but time. He funded a wing at the children's hospital where Diego was being treated. He visited patients. He sat with parents in waiting rooms. And he listened. One day, a reporter asked him at a charity gala what had sparked this sudden transformation. Ethan smiled. "It started with a woman checking my fridge," he said. The crowd laughed politely. But he wasn't joking. Years later, Diego stood on a TEDx stage at Stanford, fully recovered, now a young man studying to become a pediatric oncologist. "My mother taught me the power of sacrifice," he said. "But Mr. Caldwell taught me the power of humility. And how one act of grace can change the course of many lives." Back in the front row, Ethan wiped away tears. He wasn't a man made of steel anymore. Life had softened him. And he was thankful for it. Because sometimes, the richest man in the room is the one who finally learns how to give.